Back again, my people. Black Stars of Ghana played a friendly match against Wales, and the game finished 1-0. It was a game where Ghana scored first. In the second half, Wales came back to get the equalizer at the dying embers of the game around the 90th minute. In the end, Ghana could have gotten away with a 1-0 win, even though you would say that a draw is the fair result, because this was almost like a game of two halves where one team dominated the first half. In this case, that was Wales. And in the second half, Ghana came into the game quite well. So I think the 1-1 draw was a fair result. Anything other than that might have been an unfair result for either team. So we'll take the 1-0. A few observations that I want to talk about. First is the lineup from the manager, Carlos Queiroz. I actually did like the ways in which he set up the team in the first half, the selection that he went for in that first half, especially the front four. So in the front, he went for Fatawu Issahaku, Kamaldeen Sulemana, and we also had Jordan Ayew, and there was the other striker, I've forgotten his name. He played on the left hand side, and I think the first time I saw him play was against Austria, where he was playing as the lone striker. He was able to bring the ball down quite well. He was hustling and bustling. So he played on the left hand side. So that was the front four, basically. And I actually did like it. I did like the energy in the, even though we couldn't really hold up the ball very well. But also don't forget that in that first half, Ghana created a very good opportunity where the goalkeeper made a mistake, and the mistake was as a result of Ghana's pressing. Jordan Ayew won the ball, and I think he should have squared the ball back to his teammate who was running into the box quite late. But he decided to shoot the ball himself, but the angle was too tight, and that is how come he wasn't able to score. The keeper was able to block the shot. So that was a big chance that Ghana created, even though in that same first half, Ghana did concede two good chances. One was a free header from, I think, Dan James. So the Dan James one wasn't a free header. It was a shot that he shot with his left foot. Atizigi parried it onto the bar and it went over. And there was one that was a header, and that was a magnificent save from Atizigi. So we conceded those chances, and we tended not to be able to hold the ball very well and hit them on the counter break very well. We didn't do that very well at all compared to the second half, because in the second half, I think that we created not chances. We didn't really create a lot of chances in the second half, but we had opportunities. We got ourselves into situations where we could create something. And they were all from, those opportunities were all from breaking quickly, from winning the ball back in the midfield or in our defensive third of the field, and using quick 1-2 passes and progressing the ball with speed. And I think with this Black Stars team, that is what we need. In the first half, part of the reason why we weren't able to do it was because of the lack of quality on the field in terms of the front four that I mentioned. In the second half, what happened was that Carlos Queiroz made changes. He took off Jordan Ayew. He brought in Brandon Thomas Asante. He also took off Kamaldeen Sulemana, and I think he brought on I think it was Augustin Boache or someone, and he also brought on Ernest Nuama. And as a result, we were able to sort of control our counter-attacking play. But I think in the first half, the reason why we weren't able to do that very well was the quality. and the lack of quality, let me say. So when it comes to our chances in the World Cup, what I'm seeing here is that the strategy that we are going in with is a good one. It is going to be counter-attacking football, maintaining defensive solidity, and hitting teams on the break. But what that strategy means necessarily is that if you want to play like that, you are going to have only limited opportunities to get a goal. Now, because you have only limited opportunities to get a goal, you need to be clinical. You need to be ruthless, because you are only going to get about 1 or 2 chances, and you need to take them. You absolutely need to take them. And on top of that, defend very well for the 90 minutes. So for me, what I see as the Achilles heel for Ghana, our main problem that is going to result in not getting where we want to get to, is the lack of quality up front, because we cannot defend for 90 minutes without scoring. We need to score. The way we play, the strategy that we are going in with, we always need to score first. So that when we score first, we have something to defend. And it makes it more difficult for the opponent to be able to break the team down. So we need to have that quality, that cutting edge up front, so that from the 1 or 2 chances that we are going to create, we get a goal. And once we get the goal, it is all to play for. It is all to play for. We had Inaki Williams come into this game. But again, as always, Inaki Williams comes into games and we are not able to find him. We are not able to put him in good positions, find him with the ball. Most of the passes to Inaki Williams were either overhit or underhit. So I struggle to really blame him for his performance. Brandon Thomas Asante, I think he's one of the reasons why I'm saying that we lack quality. The quality is not up to the level where it needs to be for the World Cup stage. Because he had opportunities not to score necessarily in the 18-yard box, but he had opportunities to bring his teammates into play to create chances, and he wasn't able to find them. He either held on to the ball too long or passed the ball too quickly. And I think that is something that we need to improve if we are going to do well in the World Cup. In the midfield, the first half we had Thomas Partey in that midfield with Elisha Owusu in that defensive midfield, or in the base of our midfield, and it wasn't good enough. Not off the ball, but even off the ball wasn't good enough. Thomas Partey committed fouls, and I think there were 2 fouls that he committed, and it should have been a red card for him. It should have been a second yellow for that second foul. The referee, I saw that Ethan Amperu, the Wales captain, went to the referee and reminded him that he was already on a yellow card, and therefore he should get the second yellow card, but the referee said no. And I think that was a big favor from the referee to Thomas Partey, because that was a stonewall yellow card, that second foul, and that should have been a red. But kudos to the referee for keeping it 11-all for both teams. So in that first half, the midfield wasn't good enough off the ball, but on the ball, my main problem was on the ball. It was poor. We weren't able to keep the ball. We weren't able to find the right passes at the right time. The timing wasn't good enough, and we couldn't find our feet in the game. So it was all defending for the most part of the first half. And normally what happens is that if you're a defensive team that is looking to hit the other team on the break, if you don't carry the transitional threat, if you don't hit them on the break and actually succeed in creating a shot or an opportunity, it gives the opponent more confidence, because they know that even when they lose the ball, you are not capable of getting behind them. But if you get behind them often enough, when they are attacking, they are still afraid. Even though they have the ball, they are wary of losing the ball. And that kind of plays on their psychology and makes them more hesitant they hesitate 1 or 2 seconds when they are moving the ball, because they are afraid that when you get the ball, you are going to hit them on the break and they could concede. But if you have no cutting edge, they are just going to keep coming, and you are just going to keep defending and defending. So in the second half, when we made changes and brought on Yirinchi, Kwesi Sibo, and the other midfielders who came in, I think we were able to control the game much better. So that kind of brings up the question whether or not the first half midfield, the midfield two that started in the first half, should be our starting midfield, or we should go with the guys who played in the second half. I think it's a very difficult decision to make, and that is why Carlos Queiroz has been employed to make that decision. So I still expect more. For me, I don't go along with the narrative that the manager Carlos Queiroz came in late. He hasn't had time. He knew that before he took the job. Ghanaians knew that. The GFA knew he wouldn't have time, and yet they sacked Otuado and brought him in anyway. So that does not excuse him. It doesn't excuse the players. It doesn't recuse them of taking responsibility. We still expect good performances at the World Cup. We still expect the team to be able to score goals, to be able to defend well, much better than they did in this friendly game. Thank you very much for watching the video. I'll catch you later. See you.